All right, folks, I see a whole bunch continuing to join here, but let's kick this off. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending where you are. I am Eric. I'm the president of the Canadian Blockchain Supply Chain Association. Our association is pretty much what the name says, about advocating for blockchain technology and DLTs and digitization in the supply chain industry. We do three things at the association. We do some advocacy work, of course. So we talk with policymakers, we get involved with government and people who set strategies, and we get involved as well in creating global standards. Second thing we do is we provide resources and we match people together. So it's all about the community. It's all about the network. So if you're looking for a supply chain expert, we have those. If you're looking for a blockchain expert, we have those as well. And we have awesome conversations between us. Last but not least, we do education. This event is part of that through our newsletters, yes, our webinars, our workshops. We even built a course for logistics professionals to understand blockchain technology through our partners at CATT. So that's about us, but we're not here to learn about the Blockchain Supply Chain Association, now with chapters around the world, two in South America, two in Africa, one in Europe, Canada, of course, the USA, and soon to be in Australia and New Zealand. Obligatory sales pitch on my part, of course. We are here to learn about innovative solutions and delivering innovative logistics insurance solutions. So my favorite word in there with innovation, our industry is not known for innovation. We move at a snail's pace, and we need to accelerate innovation in our industry. And again, not to diss our very special guest, but insurance, right? In the same category as lawyers. Who would have thunk that they were innovative, but they are. So very happy to welcome our special guests from Marsh Insurance and from Morpheus.Network, our good friends at Morpheus, a regular guest of ours. First and foremost, Mr. John Frazee, Managing Director, North American Marine Growth Leader at Marsh. We also have John Claudio Steinberg, Vice President, North American Marine Market Leader at Marsh, and Carl McDermott, Chief Revenue Officer at Morpheus.Network. So very happy to have them on today. Great innovative solution that they are here to talk about. And with that, I will pass the microphone virtually over to Mr. Frazee. John, all yours. I will start
Eric, thank you very much.
And you can share on your side.
As the screen magically appears, Eric, it's great to be here. Greetings, everybody. Before we get into the crux of the digital and data innovations on cargo insurance, I really want to give you an overview over the next few minutes about supply chain and what's called really the end-to-end supply chain. The perception of the supply chain is going to vary drastically within an organization. You can have your financial officers worrying about cost of goods sold, raw material pricing, where it's coming from. And then you can have, for example, your logistics people within an organization worried about capacity, timing, and ability to move a product. Then you can have your risk managers that are worried about the insurance of the product being moved. The interesting part is sometimes they never even talk to each other. So there's a totally different perception of what's going on. Now, when I mean the end-to-end supply chain here, is it really starts from the concept of development all the way through the planning, raw material sourcing, manufacturing, all the way through to where it gets into the retail or the consumer or the end user's hands. These areas where I've highlighted in red, these are the areas where you're going to really see cargo insurance, which is going to be the primary topic of what we're talking about. Now, another thing that I like to reference here, and John Claudio has heard me say this before, is the physical supply chain is a complex symphony. The orchestra has to play in tune for everything to work from when it moves from point A to when it gets to its end users. Part of that orchestra goes out of sync. The symphony song changes its tune, and things happen as we saw during the pandemic. David, next slide, please. These are trends that I want to share with you. Now, the Allianz, it's a risk report. It kind of it comes out every year, sometimes twice a year, and it shows it polls many companies and asks them what keeps them up at night. What are their high risk profiles? Cyber, of course, is always something top of everyone's mind. Business interruption, which includes supply chain disruption. And then everything else here, from natural catastrophes, you see pandemic, all the way down to macroeconomic development. Now, the interesting point I want to make here is, even though business interruption includes supply chain disruption, when you look at some of these other topics, including cyber, fire explosion, climate change, all of these things can impact the physical supply chain. So it's embedded all over the place, is my point. So when you look at some index trends, you have the Global Supply Chain Pressure Index, which is a mouthful to say, but basically what it does is it shows you the overall global cadence of the supply chain. And right now it's starting to go down into it's in a decreasing mode, getting closer to baseline, but it's still elevated. A lot of things that people heard around the world is port congestion. I'm based out of Los Angeles in the United States. So Port of Long Beach and Los Angeles, which are two of the largest ports in the US, actually in North America, right now they had 0 vessels backed up. At the peak of the pandemic, they had 118 vessels backed up. Now that's a lot, especially when you can basically see them off the coast. And supply chain and logistics, you hear a lot about seismic shifts in industries. Supply chain and logistics itself are industry seismic shifts because of what they can cause. The overall arching comment here, or the word of the day on this slide, is resiliency. And that's what we're going to really be talking about. Next slide, please, David. One of the interesting statistics, and I had to look this up many times because I didn't believe it myself, and I've been in the marine industry for almost 32 years, is 90% of all cargo is moved in some point of its supply chain life via ocean vessel. When you start to look at the criticality of that, and you look at the port backup and the vessel backups that were happening mid-pandemic, it really starts to explain how that impacted the supply chain. So when I talk about the physical supply chain, there's basically 2, I have to say, remedial components to it. What is moving and who is moving it? So what is moving? It's your cargo, it's your product. Who's moving it? It's your logistics providers, your vessel, your ocean, your air, your rail. Those are the basic components that we're looking at. When we talk about pre, peri, and post-pandemic supply chain, one of the things that I looked at that really started to develop pre-pandemic was omni-channel ordering and how it became omni-channel challenges. What I mean by that is all of us in front of us or on our desk have 1 or 2 cell phones. And you have that great, buy it now feature, and you hit the button, boom, and you order whatever it is. As soon as you hit that button, there's a supply chain movement going on, whether it is groceries from Amazon Fresh, or you're buying a car from an online car dealership, to various other components. And even some organizations, some retailers, they have their managers in their retail stores using applications on cell phones to order the next shipment of product. So this omni-channel facility, which is great, also creates a tremendous amount of pressure, because there's that instant gratification that the end user has come to enjoy. And frankly, that end user enjoyment of instant gratification became sorely disrupted during the height of the pandemic. The pandemic shutdown created, and we're all very aware of this, so I'm stating the obvious, I apologize, is a disruption that was never really seen before. Highly publicized, as I mentioned, port backup was the commonality, because you could see the vessels, as I said before. But it highlighted the importance of logistics and supply chain. It highlighted its frailty and the consequences of disruption, which was delay. Now, when you look to the new normal, what we were looking at during especially pre, was just in time standard of shipping. As you needed it, or right around when you needed it, you'd order it. And this was whether it was computer chips for a car manufacturer, supplies for retail stores, anything that just in time really was around almost every industry. However, the supply chain disruption and the consequences of that could not support that just in time methodology. For example, if you had a certain line of clothing that has to be on the racks for the holiday season, and you order it 2 months before, and it shows up 2 months after the fact because of the supply chain disruption, that just in time is not going to work anymore. What is becoming more prevalent is just in case, which is anticipating demand and ordering what you think you're going to need, which is brilliant. It solves a supply chain deficiency issue or potential of it, but it does create you're making educated guesses, and data comes into play in trying to do this. But I defer from my notes for a second because I read an interesting article in Logistics Magazine the other day. Is one of the things that's impacting the the just-in-case methodology is a lot of, it was really referencing retail space, where you anticipate this sweater is going to be popular. I'm going to order green sweaters because that's the color of the season. But then all of a sudden your TikTok and your influencers and your Instagram, which I am not a social media person, but that's where a lot of this happens. Those platforms can influence buyers to change they don't want the green sweater, they want the pink or the yellow sweater. And so then it impacts that just in case methodology. So it's interesting to see how there's so many different impacts that go into the ordering, which go into the supply chain. Now, the bottom line of what we're talking here is protecting assets during the logistics stream through the supply chain. This is really the bottom line of what we're talking about when we get to cargo insurance. Even though I'm going to state the obvious, but the business impact of loss or damage to cargo, rendering it useless or unavailable, is actually multifold. It results obviously in lost revenue, discontented customers, damage or impact to sales, damage to reputation. If if customers can't get their car that they ordered, they're going to go and find another brand to go to if they can't get the car, and amplify that thousands of times over. It can start to damage the reputation, which at the end impacts your balance sheet and potentially company survivability, which kind of leads to the next section of cash flow implications. All of these that I just mentioned have impact to cash flow. One of the things that cargo insurance does when you're protecting those assets when they're shipping, it can protect the cash flow if there is a physical loss or damage to that product. And there's various ways of, and not to get into the details of it, there's various ways to insure it to protect sales costs, or just the raw material sourcing or whatever you need to do, but it protects that cash flow. In addition, it puts together a network of claims that you can file a claim with your insurance company instead of trying to chase it through the shipping network, and allows you to recuperate those funds that were lost, that were insured quicker, and again, protecting your cash flow. One of the things, is the shipping industry is an old industry. It's been around a long time. And one of the things that it still requires is significant documentation that is required to transact business. And it's cumbersome, and it's still in the original paper system. A lot of it is. This includes insurance, or because of the cumbersome nature of all the other documents, sometimes insurance is overlooked, which goes back to my previous point of not being able to protect the asset or protect cash flow. those times and constraints with other documentation, sometimes the company will just avoid insurance, not worry about it, and Murphy's Law exists, and there's a problem that ensues. So how does data and technology assist with this issue? How does it allow for cargo insurance to be put in place more efficiently to protect those assets in transit? I'm going to pause there with that question, and I'm going to hand it over to my colleague, John Claudio, to really discuss that. And thank you again, Eric, for having me here. John Claudio, off to you.
Thank you, John. I would like to start by giving you all a brief summary of our annual State of Play, the Future of Digital Cargo Insurance white paper. Technology and the use of data and analytics have emerged as true differentiators in the logistics and insurance industry. The digital evolution that is currently taking place in the logistics and insurance industry is leading to new opportunities to collaborate and deliver innovative products and solutions. Investment in logistics tech has accelerated in recent years because of the pandemic-fueled e-commerce boom and customer expectations for fast delivery, as well as aggressive competition driven by new technologies. Similar trends are accelerating digitization in insurance, creating a convergence for both industries that has led to innovation in cargo insurance and claims management. Developments that are driving this change today include a sharp reduction in technology costs, new digital tools that improve efficiency, mitigate risk, and enhance the customer experience, evolving consumer expectations for delivery of goods and products, as well as increased demand for information and service in real time, and increasing competition from technology-enabled logistics and insurance providers and startups. To illustrate this further, during the fourth quarter of 2021, more than 250 supply chain startups attracted nearly 11 billion in venture capital in the US and Europe, according to PitchBook. Global supply chains have been impacted by the pandemic over the short term, while natural disasters and geopolitical tensions have increased the focus on technology and resiliency over the long term. These causes highlight the importance of access to data and analytics when it comes to transporting and storing goods. As logistics providers standardize shipment data and implement technologies such as blockchain, digital technology is driving much needed changes in cargo insurance. As a result, the logistics and insurance industries are providing increased visibility and efficiency through a more streamlined digital approach to supply chain risk management. New technologies, innovative concepts, and capital investments in combination with specialized knowledge from all supply chain stakeholders are required to support the development and implementation of innovative and profitable digital products and services, including cargo insurance. The digital cargo insurance product allows cargo owners to select the shipments they want to insure and shop for price in an efficient digital environment. If used correctly, data and analytics captured by digital cargo insurance can identify risk issues and help cargo owners to prevent and mitigate losses, resulting in fewer claims and lower insurance premiums in the long run. For example, cargo owners often know that their voyage has been delayed, but may not know if cargo has been lost or damaged, meaning they cannot make timely and effective operational or risk management decisions. Following a loss, the assessment process may take months, while the claim settlement process may take years. Digital cargo insurance is designed to solve this issue. And in summary, companies operating in the logistics space, whether as a shipper, carrier, or intermediary, need risk protection strategies that reach beyond the role of conventional insurance. On the next slide, we will take a closer look at the benefits of fully embedded cargo insurance. It is important to know that as the supply chain responds to changes in consumer expectations and buying habits, digital cargo insurance solutions that directly integrate with current and emerging technology are helping improve logistics and reduce risk. At Marsh, we have been providing digital cargo insurance to the logistics industry for over 20 years, and the focus of today's webinar is on one of our fully embedded cargo insurance solutions, leveraging our cargo cover insurance program and Marsh Cargo API. The Marsh Morpheus.Network one-click cargo insurance solution seamlessly delivers insurance and addresses important supply chain risk issues, while at the same time strengthening the relationship between logistics providers, cargo owners, and the insurance industry. It is also an opportunity to offer and/or to purchase coverage on each and every shipment, allowing shippers, cargo owners, and logistics providers to conveniently arrange cargo insurance within the Morpheus.Network platform saves time, grows revenue streams, and differentiates your business from your competition. In summary, embedded cargo insurance presents an exciting new distribution channel for the cargo insurance product, increases the transfer of risk by lowering costs and improving insurance efficiencies, allows to measure insurance performance by making results more predictable, which opens up the opportunity to look at risk differently. For this, we leverage data and analytics insights to identify risk issues to help clients prevent and mitigate losses, resulting in fewer claims and lower insurance premiums in the long run. The solution also provides an electronic first notice of loss tool that provides users with a fast, efficient, and transparent claims experience. I will now turn it over to Carl McDermott to talk about Morpheus.Network and how our embedded cargo insurance solution can create value for your business. Over to you.
Thank you, Gio and Claudio, and also John, to your presentation. I don't think Marsh really requires an introduction in the world of insurance. I will spend a couple of minutes explaining who Morpheus.Network are. So we're a supply chain middleware provider. Essentially, we're a software company. So what's middleware? Well, we help you connect your supply chain systems and data. We're about embracing, not replacing, which means, we focus on the connectivity with your existing systems rather than replacing them. So, when we started, our journey as a company, we started talking to some customers, and we found a lot of that siloed data that Gian Claudio was just talking about. For example, Coca-Cola, in one line of business, 600 emails a day in one person and 20 documents per shipment. Federated Co-op, a top 3 retailer in Canada. Multiple systems of record, an IBM mainframe to run their retail, JD Edwards to do the accounting, Oracle Transport to do the logistics. And as a consequence, there's lots of Excel and back office staff to tie all of the information together. So, I guess this is my first question for the audience. Hands up for those who are still using Excel in some way or form in your logistics process. So let's move on then. Let's ask the audience another question. Has anyone purchased any goods from Amazon recently? It's usually a very streamlined process. You decide on the products, add it to your cart, decide what shipment speed you want to choose, how it's going to get shipped. It's simple. You buy it, track it, it arrives, right? And you'd expect the same thing to happen in the world of global logistics. And that's really what our one-click insurance solution helps provide for cargo owners and trucking companies or transport companies. One, it's really easy to use. You can get an insurance quote and bind in 30 seconds or less. So there's no excuse to at least try the quote out. Second, it's really easy to implement. Our no-code approach means there's zero dependency on your IT department. We handle all the integrations and distributions that Gio and Claudia mentioned in that previous slide. And finally, we have trusted data from trusted data sources. And that's really important. So what I want to do now is just quickly explain what are the 3 key pillars in the Morpheus solution that allows us then to create this innovative solutions together with Marsh. The first is obviously we've got an API hub, where we've worked very hard to actually acquire data for relevant data for supply chain managers, whether that's an SAP, so a purchase order coming from SAP. We've got a certified connector there. Or you're using Cargowise, a tool that's used by many of the global forwarding companies. So we've got a digital interface that works both directions with that. Maybe you're using EDI. We have an interface for EDI. Maybe it's document management or BL, very typical, or you're using IoT or cold chain trackers. All of these data sources are enabled within the Morpheus API hub. And that really streamlines the process of acquiring that core data set and then sending it to the Marsh API. Now, the second key part of our platform is what we call the workflow engine. Again, what we found in supply chain is workflows and shipments start with a purchase order and usually end with a proof of delivery. So it's really simple in our platform, and you'll see in a minute in the demo, to drag in a module and then create a customized workflow that has a BL, maybe it has some IoT tracking, but also includes the module from Marsh to go ahead and then create that, one-click insurance. And then when we deployed this to customers, they said, Carl, this is great, but we want to run this from your portal. The portal in Morpheus is where we have all the tracking. It's that one version of the truth, if you like. And what we enabled there was one icon, which allows you to capture 2 data fields to then create that quote. So that's really then the Morpheus solution together, how it works with Marsh. And what I'd like to do now is just invite to bring up the video so we can see that in action.
Protecting your valuable cargo has never been easier. With advances in supply chain digitization, Morpheus.Network and Marsh Cargo Cover provide several fast and easy to use options for generating electronic shipper's interest cargo insurance. As a starting point, we can use our purchase order data coming from traditional systems of record such as SAP. In this example, we show an auto parts export delivered by truck. Alternatively, we can use our global container portal, backed by 100 of the world's top maritime lines. And finally, bills of lading created by freight forwarding or TMS software such as Cargowise and Magaya can be used. Here is an agro-food export. These trusted existing data sources available on the Morpheus platform deliver a 100% digital experience. The one-click quote will bind cargo insurance in less than 30 seconds. We provide a digital footprint on blockchain for securely storing the insurance certificates. Notice we copy across all the key fields. Our IoT integrations with companies like Geotab, Hanha, and DeltaTrack ensure clean line-of-sight responsibility and liability. And at Morpheus, we add a simple QR code which is unique to track all our shipments. In the event of a claim, scanning the QR code will automatically route your information to Marsh's Marine and Transit Claim Specialist, greatly improving the speed, efficiency, and transparency of the entire claims process.
Thank you. I think that concludes the video. Eric, can we open up the session to some Q&A then? I hope the audience has been busy noting down their questions.
Hey, Carl, appreciate that very much. I see a hand up, and for some reason I can't open my video again here. Well, I don't think anybody's going to miss me, but we have a raised hand from Aldo, and I'm not sure if Aldo was still managing his supply chain on Excel or not, or if he has a question. If you have questions, please use the Q&A button. If Aldo, you're still managing your supply chain on Excel, we have to talk. We have to talk. We can help you out with that. So folks, if you have any questions, please use the Q&A. And as we wait for folks to type those in, John, I have a question for you. You alluded to disruptions earlier. I think we all remember those ships stuck in the ports, right, in Los Angeles. Have we fixed the physical supply chain yet, or are these disruptions over?
Eric, that's a great question, and it's unfortunately it's a semi-loaded question and a couple of different facets to it. Now, as I mentioned before, the supply chain index, pressure index is showing that there is a decrease in pressure on the supply chain. But is the supply chain fixed? No. As I mentioned before, there's many aspects of the supply chain. So when you have for example, an ocean vessel, you need a terminal that loads it on one side. You need a terminal that offloads the vessel. You need a truck or rail operator to pick up the container, or you need the stevedores to offload it. You need a truck and rail operators to pick it up from the terminal or the port. You need warehouse space, and then you need truck or usually trucks at that point to move it to the final destination. That's the symphony I was responding to. There's so many different challenges in different aspects now, because of economic factors. Are people ordering as much as they were 6 months ago or a year ago? Probably not. But is the supply chain still on the same plateau as it was before? Many things can disrupt it, is really where I'm getting at. So even though it's starting to stabilize now, and delays are really coming from more raw material sourcing instead of shipping delays, which is a supply chain issue, it can still be impacted with another major impact to, let's say, trucking, for example, lack of truck drivers, lack of container space in the trucks. Those can still impact it. And then if you have something that is the perfect storm that impacts several of those infrastructure components, it is going to impact even greater. So basically, even though the pressure is decreasing, and we're not seeing the same type of problems that we saw, a year ago, 2 years ago, the ability for it to happen again is still there. The supply chain is still high on the risk register, and the physical aspect of the supply chain is something that needs to be critically looked at, even when it's working correctly. Eric, I hope that answers your question.
Sure does, and I think you touched a very sensitive nerve. I have 2 teenage daughters, so that TikTok risk factor is absolutely close to home. So you kind of touched on risk, right? So which is why we need insurance. Gianclaudio, maybe I can ask you, why do we need cargo insurance? And as a freight forwarder, I've lived through cargo insurance many times in my life. But what's your take on cargo insurance?
Yeah, thank you for your question, Eric. And as John alluded to earlier, as either the cargo owner or the party responsible for the goods, you have a vested interest in the shipment arriving safely. And loss or damage caused in transit has the potential to impose great financial loss. And one of the best means to protecting the financial interest is direct damage cargo insurance. And it's also sometimes required to meet contractual obligations. So some contracts require that you carry cargo insurance. And without it, you may not be able to fulfill your contractual obligations, and you could lose business opportunities.
And again, I've lived that personally, so I absolutely understand. So why should a supply chain professional use something like embedded cargo insurance through a Morpheus platform?
Yeah, so one of the benefits is that it is a one-click solution. So it saves time, it saves resources, it also eliminates double data entry. So it's a seamless process, and it's an instant process. So oftentimes our clients need answers right away. And through this tool, you can create quotes, you can create certificates, you can share the documentation directly with all the stakeholders that require the certificate. And of course, it's important that you also have access to a claims management solution that is easy to use and that provides you with the benefit of not having to submit all the documents through email. You can do that through the solution itself. And again, it's an end-to-end solution that creates great value and saves time and money for everyone that uses it.
And I would support that statement because, and yes, I will date myself. I mentioned I've been a freight forwarder or was a freight forwarder for a large part of my career. I started off with a typewriter. So doing insurance documents and bills of lading on a typewriter was very burdensome. And I think you both touched, both John and Gianclaudio, on data silos, right? We exchange a lot of information in our business. We recreate that information between different systems all the time. And that's one of the benefits of blockchain, of course. But do you see any other future trends in digital cargo insurance?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So what we are seeing is that insuring goods in transit is shifting to logistics providers from the cargo owners. And that creates, of course, great opportunities for the logistics industry to participate in providing insurance on each and every shipment. It also protects their legal liability policy because freight forwarders, as you know, have liability policies in place, and cargo insurance is one way to limit your liability in the long term. And then, of course, another big trend that we're seeing is ensuring cargo is being further integrated with managing, booking, and arranging freight. And that improves the customer experience and saves time for everyone. And then what we're also seeing is that digitalization is leading to greater efficiency in moving cargo itself, which of course lowers the environmental impact of shipping. So it has a sustainability component to it as well.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Good customer experience, right? Priority number one. We just got a question. Hey, Sophia, nice to have you on our event. Sophia is a good follower of ours and a great person all around. Great presentation and topic. Could the solution directly integrate into 3PL, 4PL booking platforms? I'm very interested in finding out more. Carl, Sophia's reaching out to you.
Yeah, great. Thanks for the question, Sophia. Yes, we can. So it could be done through various forms. So one of those could be if you're a freight forwarder or 3PL using a tool like Cargowise, Magaya, a TMS, some of the cargo booking for maritime platforms. We've already connected them. That was really the focus of our API hub, to ensure that you're not doing, basically rekeying data. So we're big believers at taking data from source. If that's also coming from a purchase order system because your customers are using SAP or Oracle or another ERP, let's go directly to the source and avoid the rekeying. And that's really one of the big benefits of our API hub and our middleware. And I should mention, we do also support Excel. We don't support typewriters.
Well, that's a disappointment. No, it is not. How about pagers? No, we won't go there. So, Carl, you just touched on APIs, right?
Yeah.
What does your API hub do? How does it really help?
Yeah, and I think it actually goes back to that question that Sophia just asked. We've done the hard work of connecting to all these data sources so that, the cargo owners or the freight forwarders or the 3PLs or 4PLs don't have to do that. So, SAP, 400,000 customers, global install base, bills of lading, we can pull those from tools like Cargowise and Magaya. There's 20 billion EDI processes or transactions every single year. We can read the EDI automatically. Container tracking, 600 million containers a year. 10 million IoT cold train trackers in existence. All of that we can bring into our platform because we've done the hard work of the integration. We then structure that, present it to the user in the form of a quote that runs directly through the Marsh system. And then it's really simple. As you saw in that video, you can accept the quote. That can then create your certificate literally in 15 seconds. And that's really that streamlined end-to-end process that we're looking for. It gives people peace of mind. It's very simple to operate. And then obviously, if you do have a claim, we're going to send digitally all the information to the adjuster the same day so that you can start that claims process, manage your working capital or manage your cash flow.
Which brings another great questions, right? APIs, yes, are absolutely very powerful. Sundar is asking, but why blockchain, right? How do you use blockchain? What's the added value of blockchain in this equation?
Yeah, so I'll have a first if you go stab at answering that. And it's really down to trusted counterparties, right? So, we can verify first the cargo being shipped and the cargo owner. And then the insurance certificates you saw in the demo, they're actually stored on a special blockchain for documents called IPFS. And that means there's zero chance of tampering or fraud. You can't go and create certificates. You can't falsify certificates. So it's obviously a great mechanism for creating trusted certificates in insurance. If we have the claims I just mentioned, we can route all the documents and all the data immediately to the adjuster. That helps. And then I think the final part is, IoT tracking, and it could be cold chain, it could be perishables, or it could be just geolocation. You want to know if the product's actually been delivered or where it is at any given time, or where it was when there was an insurance event. So that IoT data is now being mined and being used by the adjuster to get clear line of sight responsibility of what's actually happened in that shipment. And again, the idea there is to really streamline the claims process and make quicker payments, quicker payouts to kind of manage working capital and cash flow.
Any challenges, which is a follow-up question, I guess, from Sundar. We've heard about the benefits. Any challenges to that?
Challenges to the use of technology or what?
Or blockchain specifically?
Just give me. Okay, so yeah, I wouldn't say they're challenges. I think it's just a question of perception of why we would use these kind of emerging technologies. You know, we're big believers to use blockchain for where it's really useful, right? Which is sharing data with a small group of counterparties. And that's really one of the key benefits here, being able to do that and do that at scale. You know, it's probably not the best technology for building a point of sale system in retail or a banking system, but it's really good for sharing those smaller data sets with those group of counterparties. And that's why we're really excited of, leveraging blockchain and IoT and some other tools in kind of streamlining this whole process, and obviously working with Marsh to build what we think is like an amazing experience for users.
Awesome, thank you. Sophia again for the win here. Do Marsh premiums go down? Aha, trick question. Go down if you get more data inflows. As an example, IoT temperature tracking devices on a reefer container. Since it may be simpler to make a claim with the additional data, will that incentivize a lower cost of insurance?
Eric, thank you. I'm going to just start, and then John Claudio, I'm going to hand it off to you to finish it. Is just want to make a clarification that I didn't before, and basically introduce my company after the fact. Is Marsh is the world's largest insurance broker and risk management consultant. So our insurance platforms are partnered with, we partner with insurance companies that will deliver the best rates. So we are not the insurance provider. We are the broker that puts it together. Now, by doing that is we make sure with our global market experience, we make sure that the components of the insurance of our digital system is aggressive in pricing, is not out of line with what the market is doing, and looks at what your claims protocols are. So John Claudio, I'll pass it off to you to answer how the claims and rating system works.
Yeah, thank you, John. Yeah, that's a really important question. And what we are trying to do with technology is to reduce and mitigate losses. So we are using data that we are analyzing to make sure that we identify pain points so that we prevent losses from occurring. And that in turn, of course, will have an effect on your insurance rate. So if you have less losses, you will pay also less for insurance. And so we are looking at this very holistically. So we will be able to provide you with information on a particular trade lane or a particular commodity or a particular transportation carrier. And so we take all that data, we review it, and then we make recommendations. So it's a risk management service that we can provide through the data and analytics capabilities of this solution.
Hope that answered your question, Sophia. Any other questions for our guests today? Well, folks, 3, 2, 1, I guess not. Again, thank you very much for our to our special guests, John Claudio, John, Carl, David in the background, helping out with slides. Thank you very much. We will send out an email in a couple of days with the slides, a link to Marsh's Morpheus's video, and the YouTube recording of this session. If you have follow-up questions, feel free to reach out. Hey, good job. Thank you from Amrit. Thank you, Amrit, for coming today. If you have further questions, feel free to reach out to us anytime. We appreciate your time. And with that, if there are no other questions, we will close the session for today. So stay tuned. More information to come, more sessions to come. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to our special guests, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, Eric. Pleasure to be here. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Pleasure. Thank you.